Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble News channel. A lot of what people say about the power rule. There are two main types of people who don't like Bitcoin's power rule. First, there are people who don't know enough about it because they may have only heard about it or seen one or a few posts. They then form an opinion right away, which is very common on the internet. In order to save time, I'll say it again, Bitcoin is not an asset, and it's not a tech thing, so it's not a good thing. In other words, it won't follow the usual rules of supply and demand. That's something else I always criticize. Don't talk about how much demand there is instead. Talk about how much supply there is. A top researcher and doctor of neuroscience named Giovanni Santostasi was recently interviewed by podcaster Nico. He was with another Bitcoin fanatic, Fred Krueger, during the interview. Dr. Santostasi talked about the power law of Bitcoin and what makes it special. He said that people who don't agree with the power rule usually don't understand it or have bad intentions. Dr. Santostasi came up with the power law in 2013 after finding similar links between price and time, price and addresses, and price and transactions. Since these links haven't changed over time, it's possible to guess how Bitcoin will behave in the future. Dr. Santostasi stressed that this feature makes Bitcoin's growth predictable, which makes it different from other prediction methods. Some people are skeptical, but Dr. Santostasi thinks this proves the power law as a real science theory. Critics should learn about the power law to get a better sense of how Bitcoin works, he says. He says that the power law hasn't changed in 15 years, which is 8 orders of magnitude, and it's not going to change anytime soon. There are two big groups of people who don't like the power law in Bitcoin based on what other people say about it. One, people who don't know enough about it because they may have only heard about it or seen one or a few posts, and then they form an opinion right away, which is very typical of the internet, okay? They don't want to do in-depth study because they already have an opinion. So they have to quickly type in what they think. We should change that, at least in the Bitcoin community, because, we're meant to be more serious. We should research, learn, and check things. I wish we had changed that because if you go into something in detail, you can understand a lot of it. So I think that if you're not converted, it's not a matter of becoming converted, it's a matter of knowing. If you don't get it, give it more time and see if you do. I believe you will understand it. It's and I haven't heard a single argument that is well thought out, based on facts or based on math. You make a good point there. It is not real. There are two teams. This is the first group. The second group is made up of people who have plans, because they might be other influential people who have sold their models for a long time, or people who have a certain view on Bitcoin. They push it back because it's a track for them. It's a track for how they see things. These are the two groups of people. We came up with the idea that we can't know what will happen in the future because I first came up with the power law relationship. 2013, I even wrote about my first finding of a power law the other day. It was between price and transactions and price and addresses, and that relationship is still there today. After 11 years, the friendship is still the same with the same exponents. It's been 11 years, and now the one everyone talks about is between price and time. I did it almost 6 years ago. BTC has done the same thing for 6 years now. We've now shown that Bitcoin can be used to guess what will happen in the future. That is why I don't understand what you said. You should learn, but today isn't the day. We did it already. Second, if you look at the whole idea I tried to explain, which I understand, that's the part that, to be honest, I sometimes ask myself before I go to sleep. Are you sure about this argument about Bitcoin's scaling variant property? That is an important trait. There's something important about it, but it's also very easy to understand. I talked about a kid who grows up. It changes like a child. It grows in the right way. It has done that for years. It will keep doing that. So that's the base. It's not at all like Ta. It's not like any other judgment people make. We are talking about a certain trait of Bitcoin, which is that it is growing in a very specific way. This has been going on for 15 years, which is 8 orders of magnitude. It will keep going for another order of magnitude. It's really very easy. This idea is a very good scientific theory if you look at it from a scientific point of view. It's still just a guess, without a doubt, but it is a very, very good scientific theory. Also, it should help you understand Bitcoin better. At the very least, I think it's important to understand something before criticizing it. Study the understanding first, and then criticize it. To begin, there is only one element, as Fred says. So you can't really make it fit too well. It's almost impossible to fit too much. The model is very, very simple. This isn't because the model is better either. Bitcoin is better, that's why. Almost nothing else will let you do this. You can do it with Bitcoin. It doesn't take place. I showed another expert this thing the other day that I really like, but we don't agree on this subject. He goes by the name V. Rational Rude. There is no way for him to stop thinking that there is some kind of problem because there are still a lot of coins in circulation. Oh, I see. That was a bad plan to begin with. I can tell you why. But I told him, okay, you define this quantity that is a number of coins that are available. He was fixated on the idea that we were running out of Bitcoin. To put it simply, he doesn't like it when I say that. People in the community think we are running out of Bitcoin because of that message. Bitcoin is being used by more and more people. Because of a set cap, there are fewer. When I went to figure out the amount, they said, okay, let's see. These are real scientists. They'll do it. Let's check to see if there is a link with price. There is no link, so I joked about the Drake meme where he turns down something, because he was talking to the Bitcoin DID crew. Okay, the guy said that because the power rule doesn't make sense. So I made him say no to the 0.95% connection. Okay, R squared. Then there was the link between these things that we were. There is no link at all, like if it were a hot cake, it's 0.003 or something like that. They like it that way because he wasn't showing real stats. He just said, look, I have this nice little chart, we're running out of money for the show, things that people love. But there was no real link between the two when you looked at it that way. The price doesn't change because of that. That's how scientists really work. Check out the data to see if there is any trend that makes sense. The thing you see now is a network, not an object. Seeing things through the lens of network properties lets you know that you can guess a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to if it were a normal object. I can't use this for something that people need to understand every day. Not yet, anyway. I'm not sure. There must be a way. What I want to know is what the price of Bitcoin will be tomorrow. This method doesn't work right now because it tells me the general direction and maybe even the cycles or parts of the cycles where the bull run will start and where the bottom is, in terms of a long period of time. It is very, very accurate, and over the course of weeks and months, a power law is a way to grow as quickly as possible without using up all your resources. That's why we don't see exponential rise in things that are very complicated. The number of bacteria grows very quickly when they reproduce. Then they die if there isn't enough food. If you look at Bitcoin's growth over time, you can see that it is linear and pretty fast thanks to the power law. It does what it needs to do in a way that will last. It's the best way to argue, but not with Giovanni. When you argue against the power law, you're arguing with Bitcoin. Since it's not a dream, it's where science can prove it. This has been going on for 15 years.